Coming up on Oakdale Update, we'll learn about the Christian Cupboard Emergency Food Shelf. We'll chat with the city's street superintendent about winter reminders and snow plowing. And we'll visit a new business in the city. Stay tuned. Oakdale Update is straight ahead. Hello and welcome to Oakdale Update. I'm your host, Frank Orsello. This is the City of Oakdale's news and information program about your community. The mission of the Christian Cupboard Emergency Food Shelf is to provide nutritious food and personal care items to people in our community in a dignified manner while fighting to eliminate hunger. This food shelf serves anyone living in Oakdale, Woodbury, Landfall, and a small part of South Maplewood. With me today is the Executive Director of the Christian Cupboard Emergency Food Shelf, Craig Metzger. Craig, thanks for joining us on Oakdale Update.
Thanks for having me.
You're quite welcome. Well, let's talk about, we got a lot to talk about on your organization there. Start off, tell me a little bit about yourself.
Sure. Well, I've been the Executive Director for the Food Shelf for the past 2 years, a long-time resident in the city of Woodbury, having lived in Woodbury for over 20 years. Originally from the East Coast, we moved out here 20 years ago. And so my focus, as I said, over the last several years has been helping our food shelf improve its operation and better serve its community.
Is this a full-time job for you?
Yes, it's a full-time job. Yep, absolutely, absolutely.
All right. Now, I did say that your title is the Christian Cupboard Emergency Food Shelf. What exactly is that? Tell us what that's all about. Sure.
Well, we're a food shelf, as you said in the very beginning. We serve the communities of Oakdale, Woodbury, Landfall, and South Maplewood. And we're all about helping families that might be confronting a financial crisis in some way, shape, or form, help them get healthy, nutritious food on the table. Many of our customers, unfortunately, are faced with a financial emergency. Say they have a health care deductible they need to pay for, or an automobile that needs repair, and we provide that buffer, that safety net, if you will, that allows them to make sure that they can get food on the table. Because in many instances, unfortunately, the purchase of groceries is one of the few discretionary items our customers have.
Okay, you do not help them financially necessarily, is that correct?
That's correct. Our focus is solely on providing food for the table.
Okay. Now, in my lead in there, I said you provide a few things that I want you to expound on, okay? Sure. The first one is that you provide nutritious food. Tell us about that.
Well, historically, the perception of food shelves and what they've provided has been a lot of boxes and cans of shelf-stable food. And although they do provide nutrition, it isn't necessarily the best option available to folks. So the last few years, our focus has been trying to improve the nutritional value of what we distribute. And the key point of that is fruits and vegetables, in particular fresh fruits and vegetables. And we do that in a number of different ways. One of the ways we work with Second Harvest Heartland and area grocers with our food rescue program that gets us produce in that fashion. We also go out and purchase produce, especially in the winter months when not a whole lot is growing here in Minnesota. And then the third way is we get tremendous support from area gardens, in particular the Food Shelf Garden at Guardian Angels Catholic Church, as well as the garden that Woodbury Lutheran Church runs as well. So for us, that gives us the option of being able to provide 15, 20, 25 pounds worth of fruits and vegetables to our customers when they come and visit us. And that's a key component of what we think is a basics for nutritious, healthy food.
Along that line, you said that you go out in the wintertime and purchase some produce from, I suppose, supermarkets, that sort of thing.
Well,
Where do you get the money for that? Is that
sure?
That's money, not,
right.
not donations.
That's hard dollars and cents.
Yes,
absolutely.
Yes.
And so the way we go about that, we do raise funds from three really major sources, or four. Churches donate funds. Foundations provide us money to be able to buy things. Businesses here in the community are strong supporters of the food shelf, so we use support from them, and then individuals, citizens in the community that donate. But yes, it is hard dollars that we need to go out, though we do work with partners. So we are not going to a grocery store to necessarily buy. We work with either Second Harvest Heartland that provides fruits and vegetables. Again, we purchase those, or the Food Group, which is another agency that we work with. So we are buying at a better than retail price to provide for our customers.
Okay, now do you also I'm getting off my topic here,
Sure.
but do you also get day-old produce and that kind of thing from grocery stores?
Right. So we work, the program is called a food rescue program, and we work with a number of grocers in the Woodbury-Oakdale area. And what is basically a product that has reached a marketability date, not necessarily a consumption date by any stretch of the imagination. So we actually run a program that we're picking up food depending on the location, anywhere from 3 to 5 times a week. And so it is everything that you might imagine, fruits and vegetables. It includes baked items, both breads as well as treats, as well as a lot of proteins. Beef, chicken, pork, turkeys,
you
know,
get
that
all
kind
that too, huh, from the stores?
Absolutely, absolutely.
So what are the meat? They're just about ready to reach their expiration date, or they did, and then.
No, it's just about reaching their expiration date, and so the grocers know kind of a little bit of what they're going to be able to move in the next day or two, that kind of thing. And so for proteins, for meats, if it's frozen, it can last and be used for several weeks afterwards. So all of that food gets pulled from the cases by the grocers, puts in a freezer as frozen, and then we'll distribute it to our customers over the next week and a half, that kind of thing.
Oh, wonderful. Okay, so getting back to the lead-in, I said in a dignified manner. Exactly what does that mean?
Well, again, the paradigm had historically been in food shelves with a box of stuff, right? Canned goods, box goods, that kind of thing. And you really didn't have a choice in what you necessarily received. And so what we did and have changed, and it's the way food shelves are moving, and it's sort of the best practice for food shelves, is our customers come in, and once they check in, they basically choose the items that they'd like to take with them. It's much like a grocery store, only we don't charge people money for the items that they select.
Really good.
And so the way this works is basically they get an assistant shopper that walks around in our food shelf, and they select from the various items. And the great thing about that, not only are they able to choose the things that they want, but it also allows us to eliminate waste, because people are taking the things that they'll use as opposed to getting things that they wouldn't necessarily use. And it also allows them to best match what might be at home already. So instead of having cold cereal and Cheerios, and your kids don't like Cheerios, you can take cornflakes. It's a win-win for all. So that's what we think, and from a dignified and respectful fashion, that's a process. That
wonderful
fits.
idea, because it's just the waste is probably the biggest important part of that part.
Absolutely.
Right?
It's a key thing of the change, for sure.
All right, the other one was while fighting to eliminate hunger.
Right.
Now that's a big order. How does that work?
And it's a challenge, without a doubt. And our role, there are a couple of different things, one of which is appearing on shows like this and talking to the community that many instances are quite surprised that there is a food insecurity in our community. When I share the fact that last year we served over 6,900 households, many people are surprised, or many people don't know of the need in our community. So a key aspect of that is just making people aware of the need, and in that fashion, that awareness allows us to get the support to address that issue. And then we work in other ways, whether it's working with other agencies, other elected officials, working with state government as advocates for programs like ourselves to get financial support. I mean, and that's the other way we go about doing things.
Now, in 2013, you received United Way Planning Grant.
Right,
How
sure.
important was that?
Well, for us, we had made a lot of changes and thought we were really doing quite well. And that planning grant actually allowed us to better understand how we were serving the community as a whole. And what we ended up discovering, though while doing extremely well with the customers that came to us and were served, we identified the fact that we were only touching perhaps a third of the customers in our community that would be qualified and benefit from our services. So it was a huge opportunity for us to realize while we were doing quite well, the opportunity to do more is still there.
Very scientifically attacked, right? Is that right?
Well, I mean that's an important thing
Absolutely,
about
sure.
Understanding how you're doing is facts and data, as we say, is an important aspect of understanding whether you're doing well or not.
Absolutely. Thank you for the United Way, right? Okay, now your first year, your statistics show that you were doing about 5 families a week. Now, what are you up to now?
Right. Well, as I said, last year we served over 6,900 households in the year. So typically it's anywhere from 500 or give or take every month that we'll serve at the food shelf. And then we serve a variety of other households through other programs. We serve through our produce fairs that we run every season, another 500 or 600 households where we provide fresh produce to families. And then we also have a new mobile program that we've just launched this year where we're serving another 100, 150 households as well.
I was going to ask you about that mobile what is that all about?
Sure. Well, one of the things we identified through the grant and through our planning process and looking at the data is that there are a number of pockets that we are not serving. And one of those that we're doing we can do a much better job in serving is our senior citizens. As you know, senior citizens, fixed incomes, and there's nothing fixed in their expenses by any stretch of the imagination. So we identified this as a population, and through a grant that we received from Hunger Solutions Minnesota, we were able to acquire a new truck and build a staff that go and serve specific facilities in Oakdale and Woodbury.
Good.
So we target, and in this instance, senior citizens because we know that are more difficult. They have more difficulty getting around, a little less likely to go out in bad weather, and those kinds of things. So we bring the food shelf to them, and it's been a great program, well received.
That's great. Okay, we're running out of time here, but
Okay.
You run a lot by volunteers.
Sure.
So how many volunteers do you have? And if our audience, if they're interested in volunteering, who do they contact?
Sir, well, we depend on volunteers tremendously to get anything done. We have about 150 or so volunteers participate each year. And the best way to help us out, if they're interested in volunteering, is going to our website. And that's www.ccefs.org. And go to the volunteer page, and you can submit your information, and we'll get you hooked up as soon as we can.
Okay. Very good. And it's good work you're doing, Craig, and I'm really happy to have you on our program today.
Thank you
but
for
we're out of time right now, so we have to run.
Thanks for the time.
You bet. Thank you. It's now time for our monthly segment where we profile a new business in the community. Here's this month's business.
Having a home or business catch fire is one of the most traumatic experiences a person can go through. Even if a person survives, there's still the task of trying not to lose items that are important. That's where Paul Davis Restoration steps in.
The simplest terms, we recover properties from catastrophes due to fire, water, mold, smoke, and even trauma. And that could be residential properties, commercial properties, restaurants, industrial, school, anything that has 4 walls and a roof.
Paul Davis Restoration is located in St. Paul and serves the entire metro area with a special emphasis on the eastern suburbs, including Oakdale. At their facility in St. Paul, they are able to clean and restore everything from furniture to toys to appliances.
So we'd come out and stop further damage from happening. We also would restore all of your personal property, which is part of what we do here in this facility. And we are fully licensed general contractors, so we do all of the reconstruction and commercial remodeling to put the property back to what it was like before anything happened.
Caleb Bruns, president of Paul Davis Restoration, is a proud member of the Oakdale Area Chamber of Commerce.
We got involved with the Oakdale Area Chamber of Commerce in 2010 when we opened our doors. And the connections I've made to the community, the connections I've made to the city, and the fellow business owners have been really tremendous in not necessarily to our success, but to validating what we do and validating being part of the community.
For more information on Paul Davis Restoration and their services, visit their website at pauldavismn.com.
It's time for a short break. We'll be right back with more of Oakdale Update in just a minute.
Hi, I'm Joe Cullen, host of Northeast Journal here on GTN Channel 16. Every month on Northeast Journal, we give you an inside look at the people and places that make up the Northeast section of the Twin Cities. On this month's show, we'll see how a North St. Paul business paid tribute to the troops. We'll get a preview of the Oakdale Area Business Showcase, and we'll find out how a White Bear Lake resident could add some spice to your next barbecue. So be sure to tune in to the October edition of Northeast Journal right here on GTN Channel 16.
Welcome back to Oakdale Update. It's not something most of us like to think about, but before you know it, winter will be here, and with potential for snow on our streets, the City of Oakdale Street Division's highest profile job is the plowing and salting of its 92 miles of streets. With me today to talk about snow plowing and other winter reminders is Street Superintendent Jim Romanek. Jim, thanks for joining us on Oakdale Update.
Thank you.
Okay. Say, so how long have you been with Oakdale?
About 28 years.
28 years. Okay, Tell me a little bit about yourself, where you're from and all that.
Well, I grew up in Oakdale and went to school at Tartan.
Yes.
Started working for the city part-time during my summers in high school and enjoyed the job enough to stick with it and been there ever since.
Okay, so are you just plowing? No, I mean, what do? You do more than plowing, obviously. In the summertime, what do you do?
Right, we do all the street maintenance, the street sweeping in the spring and fall, sign maintenance on all the traffic signs in the city, and we also assist with cutting on the side of the roads, the ditches, and along the sidewalks and things like that, and just generally assist the other divisions at Public Works, whether it's parks or utilities or forestry.
Okay, so I think in the lead-in I said 93 miles of road, is that correct?
Yep.
Okay, now it's divided into 3 separate units, right? We have the county, state, and the Oakdale that does the plowing, correct?
Correct, yes.
Okay, so tell me who, the county, what's their territory?
Sure, the county would plow 10th Street, like near Tartan High School and things like that. And they also plow Stillwater Boulevard. And just recently they've taken over Highway 5, and that's now renamed County Road 14. So they plow that as well. And then parts of Hadley Avenue, where it runs out to Highway 36.
Oh.
And then also County Road 13 along the east border of the city.
So that'd be Ideal Avenue, correct?
Correct.
Yep. Yeah, Ideal Avenue, right?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, and then the state, what's their territory?
The state, in addition, they'll plow 694, Highway 94, and also Highway 120.
That's it?
Yep.
That's it for the state? Well,
Yep. Yeah, like I say, they used to do Highway 5, but they gave that to Washington County in the last year or so.
You know, this is an aside, but why did they change that from Highway 5 to 14? What is that?
When it changed from state to county, the county just renamed it to fit into their highway system.
Okay. All right, now, okay, so Oakdale's, how much of Oakdale do you have? You got a lot of streets there. And it's divided into sections, is that correct?
Yep, we have 7 truck routes for plowing. Then we also have 4 front-end loader that we send out, and those will plow parking lots and cul-de-sacs. And then we also send out a couple smaller trucks, like 1-ton size trucks, that they'll help do dead ends and some of the alleys that we maintain, and also assist on parking lots.
So you said parking lots. Now, what parking lots would that be? Like the fire station, that kind of thing? And
yep, both fire stations, the city hall, the Discovery Center, some of the parking lots where there's warming houses that are in use during the winter.
Are those, how much priority to give those parking lots? I mean, they're kind of important for, say, the city hall and all that, but what about the Discovery Center and that?
The city hall, that's generally where we start. We try to keep that open because the police department runs out of there, so we try to keep them with access all the time. And then fire stations are next. The Discovery Center, we might not get to that right away, but we want to make sure that we get that before 8 a.m., before they're open for business.
Okay. So how do you prioritize the streets? How do you prioritize?
Sure, that's a good question.
Yeah.
Generally, the streets are broke down where the main roads or the collector streets are the ones that are done first, around, say, schools or higher traffic areas, shopping areas, just where we're going to have a lot more traffic, high-speed traffic, high volume. Then once those are done, then we'll break down into neighborhoods so that we can get everybody within a couple blocks of their house, have a somewhat of a path opened up. Mm-hmm. And then after that, then it's finishing the residentials and cul-de-sacs.
Okay, when we talked about parking lots, did you do school parking lots too?
Nope, we do not. Those are run by the school districts. I believe they do it with some of their crews and some contract help.
Oh, okay. Didn't know that. All right, so my question, I've always wondered about this, is how do you know when to go out and start plowing? Is there a certain limit? I mean, is there a certain depth? And if you did, how do you know?
Well, our policy is that we plow anything over 2 inches. But generally, with the way we've been viewing our salt use lately, we're trying to get out and do more mechanical removal, more plowing, as opposed to using chemicals. So sometimes we'll get a call from the police department or the fire department. They'll call us if it's in the middle of the night and it's, conditions are slippery or, the snow has fallen. But generally, we monitor the weather pretty closely to watch what's happening.
The police that are out on duty in the middle of the night, I mean, they're monitoring the amount of snowfall and everything, right? Is that correct?
Yes.
Are they probably your biggest let you know people?
Hopefully, but a lot of times they get pretty busy too with things that they have going on. So,
but how do you know then? I mean, if you're home in bed, how do you know what it's like outside in the middle of the night?
Usually, I'll wake up and see what the conditions are.
So you go out and you look outside and just see how, and then you make a decision then?
I'll look outside and I'll check the radars and check the conditions through the National Weather Service. You can generally check weather conditions at points that are pretty close to Oakdale. So that's how we do it.
Well, it's interesting. I would have thought there would be a more scientific way of doing it, but...
Well, we're in communication with other people from other cities as well, mm-hmm. In the area, and generally we know, say if it's snowing west of us and the system's coming from there, we can generally tell what we're going to have to do. And we also have access to the MnDOT traffic cameras around the state, so we can keep a pretty good eye on conditions as things are approaching us.
That's interesting. Now, I know you're trying to limit the use of salt, for environmental purposes. So how's that working out? How's that going?
I think over the last couple of years, we've been making pretty good progress in it. It's a lot of training with our operators. And then it's also just using different chemicals. We've been getting into more liquid products and treated salt, so that we can decrease our amount that we put down, and it's more effective at colder temperatures.
Yeah, do you use a sand, still a pretty high priority?
We really haven't used much sand in the last 6 or 8 years.
Really?
Only if it gets extremely cold. Well, we put some out for traction, but otherwise we really try to limit our use of sand.
Because the salt doesn't work if it's too cold, isn't that correct?
Right. If it gets down below zero, the salt really loses its effectiveness.
And the same with that chemical. I understand there's certain temperatures that doesn't work real well.
Correct. There are other chemicals that we could use, but it's really not cost effective.
Mm-hmm. Well, okay, now the big question is with global warming, there hasn't been all that much snow. I mean, these massive snowstorms that I remember as a child. And so how's that doing for us financially? That's got to be a good deal, isn't it?
Well, so far 2016 has been pretty good. We had a pretty mild winter. The end of 2015, we had, of course, a mild winter there, but we had a couple pretty good snowstorms early in 2015. So our 2015 budget was pretty close, but 2016 so far we're sitting real good. So it allows us to to put some money into investing in our equipment.
Sure.
And roadways and things like that, so.
Well, I know global warming's got a lot of bad things, but I like it. It's nice and warm out in the wintertime, and there's not a lot of snow, so
That's
I'm okay
right.
with that.
That's
I'm
right.
fine. Hey, thanks for joining us on Oakdale Update. We're out of time right now. Okay?
Sounds good, thank you.
Thank you. Before we go, I want to tell you about a couple of upcoming events in the city. The Flashlight Pumpkin Hunt will be held at the Discovery Center on October 27th from 7 to 8:30 p.m. for up to age 12. The cost is $12 per person. Register by October 20th by calling 651-747-3860. The Oakdale Area Business Showcase is on Sunday, October 30th from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. at the Envision Center, which was formerly known as the Prom Center. Bring the family to meet Oakdale businesses and do some trick-or-treating. There's a free Oakdale Wellness event for residents over the age of 50 from 5 to 7 p.m. on October 18th at the Discovery Center. Also at the Discovery Center is the Art Fair on November 5th from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Local artisans and artists will have a variety of artwork to purchase. And finally, don't forget that the general election is on Tuesday, November 8th. The polls are open from 7 to 8 p.m. That's all we have time for this month on Oakdale Update. For everyone at the City of Oakdale, thanks for watching. We leave you this time with some highlights from the recent Touch a Truck event that was held in the parking lot near City Hall.
This is the Touch a Truck event. It's growing to be immensely popular. It's a great way for our young kids to safely get on this stuff. It's a live version of the State Fair Machinery Hill, but better. These are everywhere from our public works to our emergency vehicles to a lot of very specialized equipment that these young kids might find could inspire them to be a career, because these are really well-trained employees from our city that operate this equipment. It's a good chance for the parents to learn about what the city provides our residents and in skilled workforce and equipment. So it's really a good PR thing, you know.